Hi guys, today we're going to look at how to play Rivers in the Light on the guitar. If you already know the chords G, G7, G over B, C, C add 9, D, E minor 7, A, A7 and B minor, you can skip to here in the video where I'll be playing through the track. The key of the song is E flat, but we're going to play it with a capo on the 8th fret and we're going to play G major shapes. The first chord we're going to learn is the G. So when we're talking about finger numbers, we're talking this is number 1, number 2, number 3 and number 4. So we have the second finger on the 11th fret of the bottom E string. We have the first finger on the 10th fret on the A string. We have the third finger on the 11th fret of the B string, and we have the fourth finger on the 11th fret of the top E string, and that is a G chord. When we do the G over B chord, what we do there is we take the second finger off from the bottom string and then we mute the bottom string. So I do it when we're up this high on the capo. I usually do it with my first finger, so the pad of my first finger is hitting the bottom E string, but sometimes you can stretch over with the thumb and mute with the bottom string, and that is a G over B. A lot of the time when we do the G chord, a lot of the time I won't actually use the first finger, which is called a G5 chord. So with that one, our second finger is rolling over the A string and it's muting that and it's making a G5 chord. The next chord we're going to learn is the C add 9. An easy way to get to this chord is to go for the G that we've just learned, and our third and our fourth fingers are going to stay in the same position, and our first finger and our second finger, they're going to move down one string onto the A string and the D string. So our second finger is on the 11th fret of the A string and our first finger is on the 10th fret of the D string, and then we mute the bottom string with the thumb, and that gives us a C add 9 chord. The next chord we're going to learn is the E minor 7, and again, just like our G chord, the third and the fourth fingers stay in the same place, so they're on the 11th fret on the B string and the top E string, and what we then do is have our first finger on the 10th fret of the A string, and we have our second finger on the 10th fret of the D string, and we have the bottom string open. And that's the E minor 7. The next chord we're going to learn is the D major. So what we have is our first finger on the 10th fret of the G string, our second finger on the 10th fret of the top E string, and our third finger on the 11th fret of the B string. And we have our thumb reaching over to mute the bottom string, and that's the D chord. The next chord we're going to learn is the A major. So for this one, we have our first finger on the 10th fret of the D string, our second finger just behind it on the 10th fret on the G string, and the third finger again just behind that second finger on the 11th fret of the B string, and reaching round and muting the bottom string again with the thumb, and we have the A. The A7 can be done by taking the A chord and taking off the second finger, so we're leaving the G string ringing out. The next chord we're going to learn is the G7. So for this one, we have our first finger on the 11th fret of the bottom E string. We have our second finger on the 11th fret of the D string, and we have our third finger on the 11th fret of the top E string, and that is the G7. Our next chord that we're going to learn is the C chord. So we have our third finger on the 11th fret of the A string, we have our second finger on the 10th fret of the D string, and we have our first finger on the 9th fret of the B string. Our thumb is wrapping around and muting the bottom string, and that is the C chord. The last chord we're going to learn is the B minor, and this one is a bar chord, so it's a little bit more tricky than the other ones, but with a wee bit of practice it makes it a lot easier to play. So for the B minor, what we have is we use our first finger as our barring finger, and that bars across 5 of the strings from the A string right through to the top E string. And we have the first finger as well, it's muting the bottom E string. So we don't need to bar that string because we want the root of the chord to be on the A string. But what we do is we bar across there, and then we have the pad of the finger touching the bottom E string, and that mutes it. So we have the bar across there, across the 10th fret, and then we have our second finger on the 11th fret of the B string. We have the third finger on the 12th fret of the D string, and then we have the pinky, the fourth finger, on the 12th fret of the G string, and that's our B minor chord.
I can't play a love song like I told you that I could in days gone by. And you're tired but you're still strong. As you turn through all the pages of old photographs, you smile and then you sigh, and you see diamonds, an ocean full of violence, a forest deep and silent, a moonlight shining bright. If I tell you that I'll be yours forever, can we run home together like rivers in the night, like rivers in the light? I can't sing a love song, though I told you that I could when we were young. Feels like it's been so long, just waiting for the moment when our cynicism dies and hope returns. And you see diamonds, an ocean full of violence, a forest deep and silent, a moonlight shining bright. If I tell you that I'll be yours forever, can we run home together like rivers in the light, like rivers in the light? And all along the people talking to you, but no one can hear your glory, hallelujah. You've no gas to burn and no cards left to play, but I'll raise you diamonds, an ocean full of violence, a forest deep and silent, a moonlight shining bright. If I tell you that I'll be yours forever, can we run home together like rivers in the night? I'll raise you diamonds, an ocean full of violence, a forest deep and silent, a moonlight shining bright. If I tell you that I'll be yours forever, can we run home together like rivers in the night, like rivers in the night?
Thanks very much for watching, guys. Hope you've enjoyed learning Rivers in the Light on the guitar. The chord chart will be linked down below in the description, and don't forget to subscribe to catch all the latest from Tidelines. Cheers!